Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of this podcast, vlog. As said, if you have any ideas or perhaps even know what it is that I'm doing and what it is supposed to be called, then please leave a comment so that I don't have to have this weird introduction every week. My name is Camilla Bonicel, and Bonicel Yoga, that's me. Again, we're going to have a little monologue, conversation, chat over a cup of tea or coffee, or maybe, as said, you plug your earphones in and you go for a walk. Depending on in which medium you listen to this, I am happy that you are here. Let's begin. So my topic of today is about one of my favorite topics and favorite things to do, talk. So I heard about this concept a number of years ago, and I can't really remember in which situation or how come it kind of came to me or what I was Googling or what I was doing. But anyways, I heard about this concept of big talks or big talk. No, it's an S in the end. Big talks. And it kind of just straight up clicked. I really enjoy the concept of that instead of necessarily perhaps the small talks, which I think is how they chose the word of it or the name of it. And basically big talks are, or the way I use it and the way I like to use it, it's a bit of an icebreaker, to say the least. I love to use it when getting together with new people, for instance, like in a dinner setting or whatever else it might be. But when you especially meet new people, instead of going into those regular, in my opinion, quite often boring conversations about, okay, what do you work with, or whatever it might be. See, can't even think about any of those. Instead, I like to introduce these big talks and ask other kind of questions where you have to think and where you also get to know the person in a completely different way rather than just understanding what the fuck they are working with. So for me, those kind of questions are so much more interesting because I get to know the person who's really in front of me. And it's also quite fun because quite often it's, the other people around you. Let's say if you're a group of 4 people, I've done this quite often when my husband and I, we have a dinner and we have another couple or so. And it's like, you get to know your partner in a completely different way as well. So it's quite nice, I think. And also what is quite fun is to introduce these kind of questions also in groups where you do know the person since before. So for instance, we have used these kind of questions the last 2 years or so, especially when we're spending time with my parents-in-law. My parents-in-law are kind of from a different kind of culture, or how to put it, not just from the fact that they are French, but also a culture where in their world it is not so polite to be asking questions. And in my world where I'm brought up, my mom used to hammer this kind of a quote or wisdom words into me. Ask a question and you're a fool for 5 minutes. Don't ask a question and you're a fool for life. So for me, asking questions it's the way I live my life. I ask questions, and if I don't get the answers that I'm looking for, I continue asking questions. Super annoying. Some people find it, especially sometimes my husband. But So I started introducing these questions also towards my parents-in-law. And all of a sudden there were super interesting conversations that started to happen. And my husband got to know his parents in a bit of a different way, and it was not just like asking them tons of questions like this, but also of course this sharing. So it could be that everyone gets to answer the same question, or that maybe it's one question each. So what I have done is that I have created these kind of cards. Right now I don't have so many of these ones because I've been using it in a slightly different way lately. But anyway, I've used these cards. And then, of course, on the back side, there's a question. So these ones are super easy for me to bring with me if we meet a couple or friends in a restaurant. And then everyone gets to pick a card. And then whoever has the shortest hair, or who's the youngest around the table, or whatever other kind of thing you want to do, begins to answer his or her question. And questions like this, big talks, could be something like this. What object would you save if your house were on fire? Or if money were no concern, how would you live your life differently? What do you prefer to do on a day off? What is one question you would ask a fortune teller? This is a good one for me because there's a lot of these ones. What have you started but never finished? And why is that? So if you were to Google big talks, you will get a lot of information or inspiration. Over the years, I have collected a number of questions, as said. A few of them have ended up on cards like this. And I have a whole bunch, a whole long list in my phone. And yeah, when I know that we're spending time with my parents-in-law, I prepare a few questions that I haven't really, or that we haven't asked or talked about yet. And then we have a quite interesting and more giving or rewarding evening or time together than what we would have if we didn't have these kind of questions. Big talks, I super much enjoy them, as said, and I wanted to do today's little chat as an inspiration for you to maybe bring something like this into your life. And I know that right now with the lockdown, it's not that easy to perhaps get together in big groups, but maybe you still do see a few select friends or family members every once in a while, and maybe this could be an interesting thing to do to get to know people in a different way. And as I said, you can divide the question so everyone has a card or similar on their own, or maybe you choose to do the same question. So for instance, one of the last times that we had our parents-in-law or my parents-in-law visiting here in Rotterdam, we went for dinner out in a restaurant, and then I had planned one round of question for the aperitif, one round of question for the starter, one round of question for the main, one round of question for dessert, and I had a backup question, should we sit much longer in the restaurant? And so it was 5 questions that I had prepared, and we all answered the same. So we did it in different orders depending on who began the last time and so on. And it was interesting and much more enjoyable evening. So my recommendation to you, start to introduce big talks in your life and see what happens. Feel free to leave me a comment if you want me to share a few more of these questions that I am using, or if you have other good questions that you want to share with me. I see you next week, I hope. Thank you so much for listening wherever you are. And if you enjoy these podcast vlogs, whatever it is, I would be happy to have your comments also to encourage me to keep on going and perhaps to see what I could be doing better for next time. Thanks so much.